Hi, I'm Sanjoy Roy, Managing Director of Teamwork Arts and the producers of the Jaipur Literature Festival and JLF Worldwide, and a member of the DLC's Global Events Committee, the Delhi chapter. Today I'm going to talk to you about creating wealth through the arts, and this is not necessarily an unknown phenomena. Across the world, the arts is used as a way to be able to create value for built heritage and to create districts which are important. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories which sort of defines the way arts has created wealth. I'm going to start with South Africa and Johannesburg. As you all know, when South Africa won its independence, what happened is its economy opened up, the country opened up, as a result of which all of Africa arrived at the doorsteps of Johannesburg, coming in buses and trains, because South Africa was the most attractive economy in much of the south of Africa. When they arrived, they realized that in Newtown, which is a central business district, that there was actually very little that they could do. And because there was already a lot of arms and ammunition in South Africa, there was a lot of crime, resulting in much of the population of Newtown, which was part of the Johannesburg's central business district, now leaving the center of the city and moving out to places like Sandton, etc. When the city got through to us through our then Consul General, Ambassador Navdeep Suri, their thought was, can we help them revive Newtown and bring back people? Because the two major banks, Standard Bank and FNB, had said to the city, if they don't sort out this problem, they too would shift their headquarters out of Newtown, making it a wasteland. So pretty quickly, in almost the day that I was there, initially I was reluctant about going to South Africa because primarily there was no direct flight and there was no flatbed, and I'd never been to Africa, and many of us have that a strange suspicion about what you're going to find in a place that's crime infested. But having got there, and Stephen Sachs, this incredible city manager, the head of the creative sector there, he showed us around, and what we said to him was very simple. I said, Stephen, why don't you delineate a cultural and creative district in Newtown? Make sure that it's really well lit and there's great policing. And I promised that in 3 years' time, I'd be walking across Mary Fitzgerald Square with my telephone, with my mobile phone in my hand, and I wouldn't be mugged. A simple solution, but like most things, the minute that happened, we had great policing, great lighting. We used Mary Fitzgerald Square and Zoo Lake to become platforms for festivals. And very soon, the old powerhouse was converted into a convention center. The Museum Africa was populated. New restaurants opened up. Baseline, which was this wonderful music shed, sort of started creating great artists, great music. Galleries opened up. And today, it's one of the most thriving communities in that place. Similarly, in 2001, 2002, the then Premier of Western Australia, the Minister of the Interiors in Western Australia, got through to me because of some of the work that I'd been doing here in India with street children, street and working children, where we used the arts to be able to mainstream many of them and find them a new world, a new life. And he had heard of some of this work, and he had asked us to come across to Western Australia, to Perth. And he had a very unique problem. As you all know, that Australia's original or First Nation population is Aboriginal. They form 2% of Australia's population. But the prison population was 98% was Aboriginal. And this one area in and around Kalgoorlie, which is their biggest open mining town, 100% of that population in a 100-kilometer radius, from cradle to grave, everybody had been incarcerated amongst the Aboriginal community. So there again, we presented a fairly simple solution. We said to the government of the time, we said, one is that you must record what we're going to do over 6 months to try and reduce this particular incidence of criminality amongst these tribes. Two is that we went out to the tribes, to the senior and the elders of the tribes. There were, I think, 16 or 17 tribes spread out. And we said, why don't you tell us your stories? Your stories of the sun and the stars, the universe and the heavens, the rivers and the waters, the trees and the wildlife, and do it using instruments that you are familiar with, that you find in the desert. And what we told the government is three things. We said, you must take out your dole truck and go to these communities rather than them coming out to town every Thursday to get their dole. Because what used to happen is they used to get their dole, they didn't know how to count, went to the supermarket, typically some of the money was taken off them wrongly, or went to the next door bar, went to the brothel, had a fight, and the last building on that one road used to be the police station. So we invested and we said, you take the money truck out, give them their dole in the community, take the supermarket truck with that so that they are able to buy and trade. And then you take the bar truck, but you ensure that you only put in quarter bottles because drinking is a big problem in these communities. Over the 6-month period, when they created this incredible installation spread across 100 kilometers, which of course you could only see from a helicopter, what happened is the incidence rate of incarceration came down to 27%. And I'm going to give you the third example before I give you some other insights, which is really in Edinburgh. When we started working in 1999, 2000 at the Edinburgh festivals, both at the International Festival, the Festival Fringe, the Literature Festival, the Film Festival, the Music Festival, all of this which makes up the Edinburgh, or the festival's Edinburgh, what we wanted to look at was what is the symbiotic relationship between built heritage, all of these incredible old buildings in Edinburgh, and how by bringing in the arts, you actually created value for these buildings. At that point of time, John and Faith Singh from Anokhi, the folks who run this beautiful block print textile organization based in Jaipur, John and Faith Singh had been looking at how to restore and preserve old Havelis and palaces so that they weren't torn down and made into glass and mortar new structures. They came out to Edinburgh, saw some of the work that was happening there, about how the arts and built heritage came together. And they were very excited and they wanted to set up something similar in Jaipur, which led to the creation of the Jaipur Heritage Virasat Festival. And they were very keen that we helped them run it. Initially, we didn't. We only used to produce work for them. But when that particular festival found it difficult to take off, John and Faith sort of asked, would we look at, because it was our baby, would we look at taking it forward? It was really in that Namita Gokhale and William Dalrymple had started programming a strain of literature within that larger festival. So we broke that festival and we created what is now known as the Jaipur Literature Festival, the largest literary gathering in the world, and the JLF extension. In Jaipur, for example, the Jaipur Literature Festival attracts over 500,000 people. This was pre-COVID, on the ground, which leads to a rough approximation in the last survey that was done of an additional contribution to the city's economy for about 135 crores over 5 to 6 days through restaurants, hotels, shopping, retail, and everything that's associated with tourism. Similarly, if you looked at Bengal and you looked at something like the Durga Puja is the single largest activity that contributes to Bengal's GDP. It's billions of dollars that comes in across print and publishing, decor, sponsorship, retail, of course, which is the largest. And it really creates a massive contribution to the economy of West Bengal. So similarly, if one was to look at the arts in so many different ways, of course there's the intangible in terms of how the arts is able to create a window of opportunity for people to look to other cultures, look to other ways of being, look to other religions, races, color, and transcend all of that through language, through ideas, through music. But more importantly, what it does is it provides you a perspective, and it allows you to be able to push back through considered knowledge and information. We're able to push back against the narrative of hatred that is overtaking all of us. This sort of sums up the value of the arts. It creates wealth on so many different levels, and I do hope that all of you listening to this look at the arts, look at the way that creativity creates innovation and invention across the spectrum of science, literature, mathematics, space, and everything else, because you do need the left and the right brain to be able to functioning together. Recently, we took JLF to Maldives for the first time. In fact, I've just come back from there, and we held it at Soneva Fushi, which is seen to be the most exclusive resort in the world, where it's really the billionaires and the millionaires who hang out there because of the kind of place it is. So we created a JLF there for a very bespoke clientele. You can have about 200 people every weekend, and we were spread across 2 weekends, 5 days each, 5 days on either side of each of the weekends. And to make it special, to make sure that every guest who arrives there feels that they are the most important being in that place. Similarly, at our Mahindra Kabira festival, which happens in Varanasi, which again is for a very exclusive clientele. It happens on the banks of the river Ganga in the oldest continuously inhabited city of the world, which is Varanasi. We again create a bespoke festival where every hour, every minute, every second is curated in a way to be able to demonstrate how magic can be done and made possible, and how every minute becomes invaluable and becomes, as MasterCard would say, a priceless memory. Platforms like DLC are very important to be able to spread knowledge and information. These are creative groupings of people coming together, and as long as we are able to create more such platforms, not just here but across the world, we'll be able to see how we can push back against ignorance, against the WhatsApp university, and create communities who think together and are able to instrument change. So DLC continue to do a great job in this field.